Hey, we're in 1 Timothy chapter 6, so grab a Bible and let's go.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today for our Bible study. As you just heard, we are in 1 Timothy chapter 6. Again, I know this is redundant if you've watched it many times, but if you're new with us, just want you to know the reason this is such great, I think it's great instructions for us because it's specifically written from the Apostle Paul to the pastor of a church about how people are to conduct themselves in the local church. So this is how you should behave if you're a Christian in a church, and I think it's good for all of us.
Yep.
Now, it's written directly to the church leader, but we can all gain insight from that. So let's pick it up in chapter 6. He says, "All who are under the yoke of slavery should consider their masters worthy of full respect, so that God's name and our teaching may not be slandered." I want to stop there for a second. Yes, he's actually talking about slavery. Indentured servants is a form of slavery. It's not quite as bad as what we think of like early American slavery.
Yeah.
But indentured servants didn't have a choice. They worked. It was a job. They worked for a person. They didn't have the freedom to leave that job. They had to for whatever period of time or whatever. So they were technically slaves, indentured servants. And what's really interesting is, I think two things are very interesting. The fact that Paul addresses them and doesn't say, this is wrong, don't do it, run away if you can. I just think that's odd that he didn't say that. And also, you will notice the tone here, that our message and our reputation is more important than what we're going through. That if you are a Christian, whether it's fair, not fair, your behavior is really reflecting the character of God, and that's more important than how you're. I say this all the time at the shops, a couple of shops. I say to the managers there that everything you say and do represents me. It really does. You are representing me. And I think in Christianity, we need to remember that.
Yeah.
When we're in situations that we don't think are fair, in situations that we wish were different, we can wish they were different. We can pray for God to change them. But at the same time, remember, every one of our actions reflect on our Master. They reflect on God. So he says, because our behavior reflects on God, basically, he says that I want you to treat your masters with full respect, that God's name and teaching may not be slandered. Verse 2, those who have believing masters are not to show less respect for them because they are, because they're in brothers. Instead, they are to serve them even better because those who benefit from their service are believers and dear to them. These are the things you are to teach and urge on them. These are important matters. Wow, this is culturally like way out there. You know, this is really hard for us to grasp. Don't you think?
For sure. We just don't approach. I mean, the closest thing for us to this is our jobs, right?
Yes.
So wherever we do not approach my number one responsibility at my job is to be respectful and help my boss succeed. Like, that seems like the most un-American thing to say, right?
It does. America tells us all about me. You treat me right. You pay me more money. And
if I don't like it, I can complain. I can cut you down. I can badmouth the company. You know, I don't have any responsibility to you, except that's just opposite of what Paul says.
It's totally opposite of logic and common sense, but it is opposite. And here's what I find really interesting too. If you're a slave and you have a believing master, or if you are friends to the owner or the boss, sometimes we think like, well, we can get away with more.
Oh, sure,
We just think we can get away with more. And Paul's saying it's the opposite. If you're friends with your boss, work even harder. If your boss is a Christian, work even harder for them. If your master is a Christian, it's not like, oh, he's a Christian brother, I don't have to, he's going to treat me right. I can slack off.
Get a free pass on effort.
And he's saying just the opposite. Why? Remember the why. Why? It's because we have a reflection on that we are Christians. Now, if you don't tell anybody you're not a Christian, I guess you can do whatever you want. But if you care about the message in the name of Jesus Christ, it is our attitude to be a servant and to treat our masters, our bosses, with great respect. If they are believers, even more respect. There's something that I have noticed just in years of being around Christianity, that sometimes Christians can be the cheapest people there are. I mean, I just noticed that. I'm not saying everybody is, but sometimes. I have noticed that if a Christian, and I've noticed this in church a lot, if a Christian hires a guy, a business from church, oh, he's a Christian, he's going to give me a good deal. Like, well, I don't have to pay you full price. Like, okay, so if I hire some business owner here in church to come to my house, should I expect them to give me a deal because we're brothers? I've always thought this for years. Why don't I pay them extra, give them a big tip because we're brothers?
Bless them, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's funny how I like how Paul puts us down to, no, listen, if be generous, if it's to a boss, if it's pay, especially if they're a Christian, be even more generous to them. Okay, now he switches gears, and I think there's kind of three ideas that we're going to talk about. For that one, was talking about slavery and our attitude in our workplace, and now he's going to talk really about false teachers, and there's always false teaching around, some worse than others. But here's his instructions. He says, if anyone teaches false doctrine and does not agree to the sound instruction of our Lord Jesus Christ and to godly teaching, he is conceited and understands nothing. Basically saying he's an idiot. Okay? He's an idiot. This false teaching thing's big in a lot of the epistles.
It's like the number one thing Paul writes about, right?
Because it's kind of always wanting to creep in. No different than today. There's false teachers all over the place. And I think in today, as I'm reading this and I'm trying to say, okay, how do we handle this today? How do we identify false teachers? I think he's talking also not just in the church, but in the world. We have false teachings in our culture that are opposed to God. They are very disruptive. There's false teachings. And I think, and not even politically, but politically certainly there's, but even in ideas, that we have a lot of false teachers out there. And he says these teachers really don't know what they're talking about. If they are not talking about the truth of Jesus Christ and sound doctrine of God, they are fools. They're idiots in a sense. He says he is conceited and understands nothing. He has an unhealthy interest in controversies. Think now, as we read through this list, think about things that you know and people you know. Controversies, quarrels about words that result in envy, strife, malicious talk, evil suspicions, and constant friction between men, and corrupt mind, who have been robbed of the truth, and who think that godliness is a means of financial gain. We have...
Good thing we don't deal with that today.
Yeah, that's not pertinent to today at all. And we're talking about Hollywood, politics, church. I think in our whole culture and everywhere, we have people pushing ideas that do nothing but make strife and controversy, opposing sides, causes divisions and wars, and horrible things. But we have them in the church as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There are in the church as well people pushing false doctrines, stretching the truth where it's no longer truth. And it causes a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in our culture. And I guess we can identify this more today than ever before, that there's a lot of it who thinks that this teaching, being a false teacher, is a means to financial gain.
Oh, the prosperity gospel is huge. I mean, most preachers that you see on TV or that have, kind of some national recognition are all this, God bless me, and let's reach into, parts of the Old Testament bring things out of context. And if you give, then God's going to multiply it. And oh, man.
A little side note, a little personal thing that I talk to Shaheen often about, people's net worth. I was looking at this just the other day.
Oh, geez.
And
this usually doesn't end well.
This doesn't end well. There are two TV preachers. They are on TV, they're preachers, they're Christians. But two of them, their net worth is over $300 million. Isn't that wonderful? I'm
we
not
wanna
saying,
get into this?
but how much is enough kind of a thing.
Yeah.
However, I only question it because is their message just for financial gain? I'm not being the judge of that, but I am wondering it. Is their message just for financial gain? There's nothing
Not
wrong
even
with
their life right now. Just what are they telling people? What kind of doctrine are they promoting where, hey, is it all about God bless me, specifically financially?
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's what I wonder, and I'm not accusing or anything. I would like to, but money in itself is not evil. And but okay, so we'll go on. Here I think out of everything today that we're reading about, this is the one that we should hold on to. This is the most value for our life. As he goes on and he says, "Godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that." If that's true, if we can be content with that, that is a rich person.
Yeah.
Contentment is priceless. And so oftentimes we think money is going to bring us contentment. And it may be possible. I don't know. I have not seen it work in people's lives. I think people we read about and people...
Yeah, even, multi-millionaire stars and figures. And the problem is it's always more, right? I just need a little more. Except when you get it, it's still just a little more.
A little more.
It never ends.
If we're looking for money to bring us contentment, because it's hollow, and he's going to go on to this, but I just want to think about this. What would it be worth to you? What would it be worth to me and you to have contentment with just food and clothing and a relationship with God, like being fully content? Because when you think about it, it is our desires that run our lives ragged, and contentment with godliness is of great value. Boy, that underline that, magnify that, put that on your mirror. That is just huge.
Yep.
That godliness with contentment is of great value. We brought nothing into this world. We're taking nothing out of it. Just to live in this life with God and having food and clothing is enough. And that contentment, I'll tell you, if people could get that, they would have it all. They would literally have it all. Now, he goes on and talks about money. He says, people who want to get rich, this is people who believe that money will bring contentment. That's what it really comes down to. People who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction. Boy, have we seen the Madoffs and the Bernie Madoffs and the people who, man, you think, don't they got enough money? But they want more and more and more. Every once in a while, I know you're really into football. I see some pro sports people or football people who they get busted for dealing drugs. We're like, don't you have enough money? Like, why are you dealing drugs? And again, money is not the problem. Being rich is not the problem.
Yeah.
It's what do we want money to get us is the problem. If we think money is going to bring us contentment, it will drive us, and it's plunged many people's lives into ruin and destruction. Boy, way back when he wrote this, it's no different today. The same exact thing. So, and many griefs. Now, I want to just skip over as we kind of keep this on the same thing. We bring this to a close here. Skip over to verse 17. Next week, we'll come back and finish this chapter. But since it's on the same thing, he's telling Timothy, the pastor of this church, like Paul is telling all of us Christians, he's saying this: command those who are rich in the present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain. Wow. I mean, that couldn't be more pertinent than today of anything, that putting our hope in wealth. Wealth is so uncertain. You can have money today and not tomorrow. But to put their hope in God. God is the one who provides. We look to money to give us contentment. We look to money to give us satisfaction. We look to money to bring us security. And what Paul is saying here is this: don't look to money for any of those things. Look to God for all of those things, because God is the one who really provides what we think money will give us. God will give us. He goes on to say, it's God who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. That God has given us creation, this world, relationships. He's given us so much for our enjoyment. And he goes on to tell the pastor, he says, to command them, to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. That, hey, if you have money, don't let it destroy you. Be generous. Be good in good deeds. Don't look to your money for your trust in your money for the things you need, but be generous with your money. He says in verse 19, he says, in this way they will lay up treasures for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. He is commanding people who are rich to not put their trust in wealth, but to be generous and share. Not only are they finding God supplying their needs instead of money, but they're also storing up riches for themselves for the future, for heaven. And we don't really talk about that much. But he's saying, hey, that life is really life. This is this is a mirage of life. Heaven is really life. And store up your riches, store up your valuable things in heaven.
You know what I love about this? I mean, Andy Stanley, we both listen to him a lot. I remember probably 10 years ago now, he started doing this yearly thing, how to be rich. And his whole approach was, you know, we try and look to how do we be more patient? How do we be more self-control? All those things. We never talk about how to be rich. And he goes off this every well, this is how you be rich, good works, storing up,
amen.
Man, that we want to be all these things, but we forget this one. So I just love the way he kind of phrases that.
He does, and how to be rich, and how to just focus that of becoming. I think everything we read today about slaves and working for your masters is just beneficial for our lives. The whole false teacher thing is really good to be aware of and run from false teachers. But I really do think that to be content with godliness and be content with the things that God has given us. Looking to God, if you want to be rich, if you want to be content, if you want to be fulfilled, look to God, not to money. We'll see you next week.
Hey, we really hope that this video was helpful for you. If you'd like to stay up to date on our weekly content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and click on that little bell icon so you can be notified when new videos are uploaded. And if you'd like to support the ministries here at Access Church and help make videos like this possible, there'll be a link in the description below. As always, we appreciate your partnership in helping us draw people into a growing relationship with God through Jesus Christ.